Hello, my name is Eric Schmaltz. I'm the community manager for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum's History Unfolded project. And I'm really excited to be here today with a few of my colleagues to answer some of the questions that community members, citizen historians, have been submitting to us about our project. Before we begin with your questions, I'd like to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm David Clevin. I'm the education lead on the History Unfolded project.
And I'm Michael Haley Goldman, and I'm back up on pretty much all aspects of the project.
So we're going to jump right in and get to your questions. Our first question comes from Amy M., who is from Texas, and she wants to know, what are some of the unexpected outcomes of the History Unfolded project? And this is one that I'm very excited to answer because one of the joys of my job is almost every single day I get excited about some of the material we've received to the project, all the newspaper articles that I review as part of my job. And as far as the people who are contributing, we have thousands of people who have uploaded articles at this point, and they go all the way from middle school students all the way up to graduate level students, and you know who you are. We also have adult lifelong volunteers, and I've even worked with a number of Holocaust survivors on this project as well. So it's been really unexpected for me to work with such a wide range of audiences for people from all over the country as well. The second thing that's been really surprising to me is just how generous people have been in wanting to help us. So a lot of times when I ask, what are you most interested in? A number of you have told me, well, what does the museum need most? What do you guys want? And that question is always something that is very nice for us to receive and surprising. And then the last thing is just the data that we've received, the newspaper submissions, just fascinating reports from different states, different communities all over. We've received a lot from ethnic communities, so we have a lot from the African American press, for instance, foreign language press, Christian and other religious affiliated newspapers. And I keep a running track of some of our favorite finds in a document that I share with my colleagues, and a number of your articles are on that document. So we're really appreciative of that, and we're thinking about ways we can use it. Just one of so many examples that I'd love to share today comes from the Madera Tribune, which is in California in early 1936. And there was the first Nazi vessel that went to Portland, Oregon, and it was going into port, and it turns out that while a good number of the people in the community came to welcome the vessel, there were 11 protesters who actually organized a demonstration against this very event, and 3 of them, according to the news report, were Reed College students. So to me, it was just fascinating that this showed kind of the divide of Americans, that there were people, even if they were in the minority, who took a big stand against this, and they were really upset about what was going on. This particular article came from students at Milpitas Christian School in California, so thank you very much for that one as well. We're going to jump now to our second question. And this one comes from students at Colton Pierpoint Central School in upstate New York. And the question asks about this new exhibit. Will this new exhibit cause Americans to reflect on the dots that were in the news in the 1930s and 40s, so as to see and propel us to connect the dots that are in the news today? Will Americans see their way through today's news to do something about today's atrocities?
I'll take that one. Wow, we hope so. So we have this new exhibition, and a part of this exhibit was made possible through the research done by the citizen historians on History Unfolded. And the exhibit's called Americans and the Holocaust. And obviously we really do hope that folks will reflect on what they're seeing in this exhibit and think about ways in which it's relevant to their lives today. One of the things that I really noticed as more and more research came in through History Unfolded, something that I hadn't quite put together until I really started looking at it, was that even though a lot of events really were covered all over the country, oftentimes on the front page, for most events, with the exclusion of Kristallnacht or the Nazi boycott of Jewish businesses in '33, most of these events would be covered for one day, and then the event might not be in the news the next day because the news cycle would keep going. There'd be something else to report. And for me, that was one of the things that I really pulled out of it for how I think about the way I consume news today and what's reported, because unless something is constantly in the news, we tend we're aware of it, but we tend to forget it. We go on with our lives. And it's part of why Kristallnacht was such an extraordinary event. It was so hard to ignore, it couldn't be ignored, and it was in the media for weeks. And that's part of why it demanded a response. But it's really challenging. It's really challenging for folks, even when they're aware of things, to act on it. In the aftermath of Kristallnacht, there were public opinion polls, and we have these polls in the exhibit as well. And Americans were fairly united in their condemnation of Nazi persecution of Jews. 94%, when asked after Kristallnacht, do you agree or disagree with the Nazi treatment of the Jews? 94% said we disagree. They were disgusted. But yet at the same time, over 70% were asked, do you think we should allow more Jewish exiles into the US? And they said no. And so there wasn't that connection between outrage, or at least unhappiness or disagreement, and the idea of using revised immigration policy as a solution to that. And so I think today we struggle with the same things. There are lots of things people see going on around in the world that they don't like, that they're upset about, but trying to figure out, well, what's the right solution? What sacrifices am I willing to make? Or how can I as an individual make a difference is a really, really hard decision. In the exhibit, Americans in the Holocaust, we tell the stories of Americans at all levels of society who took a variety of actions, from sponsoring immigrants to come to the US, signing affidavits, joining nonprofits that went out and helped to facilitate rescue of refugees, who pressured the government, who wrote letters to the editor, all the way up through government officials who tried to change policies. And so we hope that that will inspire people to think about what kind of power do they have. But we really won't know. We really won't know, but we hope that it does have an impact.
Thank you very much for that response, David. So we have a couple more questions we're going to answer now. This next one comes from students at Beth Jacob Borough Park in New York City. Thank you for that question. Are you planning to publish a statistical analysis of the coverage of the different topics in newspapers across the United States? It would help with interdisciplinary teaching of the Holocaust, for example.
So, one, it is great to hear that question, that people are thinking of this as data and thinking about what you might build out of the History Unfolded collection that's been gathered. It was one of the goals of the project initially to create a data source about the newspapers from the past that could be used by anybody. So it is really great that people are thinking about what might come out of it. The answer is that this data will be available to anyone who wants to use it. Researchers and other groups can take the data when it's completed and do their own research. So we're hoping there'll be a lot of things published from History Unfolded, and the resulting research will be made available to everyone.
Thank you, Michael. We have one more question we're going to answer for you today, and this comes from student Autumn H. at Lakeview High School in Michigan. How can I personally help to get more people in my community active about this project? Thank you so much, Autumn, for that question. It's one I'm very happy to answer. As part of my job as the community manager, is we work really hard to try to inspire people to get excited about this project. You've heard in our responses so far just about how real this research is. This is not busy work. This is research that has already, as David mentioned, been contributing to the work at the museum with the special exhibition, which is now open, and we encourage you to come and see it if you're in Washington, D.C., but also the work that we're doing with our larger initiative. We are working on lesson plans and a traveling exhibitions, a lot of ideas. We haven't fully explored all of them, but when you're talking to other people, tell them that this is work that the museum is currently doing for a purpose, and it could really go far. And then, as Michael said, also with the scholarship. So it's not busy work, it's really exciting. Beyond that, especially for the students out there, talk to your teachers, talk to your librarians. One of our challenges here is that we don't always have the opportunity to tell everyone. There are many people who don't know this project exists. You're on the ground, so if you're in your social studies or English class or even some of your other classes, you go to the library, mention to your educators about this project, and then they might help you to facilitate it in your classes. So we would really appreciate that as well. The other thing you can do if you're really, really excited, especially if you've participated before, is help organize a research sprint. We have a guide on our website to organize a research sprint, so you can work with us on that. We've had a number of really successful sprints around the country so far. And then the last thing I would say is reach out to me. Part of my job as community manager is to be available, to answer your questions, to talk to teachers and librarians and lifelong learners. So you can contact me via email or phone, and I'm happy to work with you in order to get started on that. So those are the questions that we're going to be answering today. We thank you so much again for submitting them all to us. This project continues through 2021, and so we're going to continue to go strong, collecting as much data as we can around the country. So thank you so much for your participation so far, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work with you.